Well, thank you so much. The panel of judges and the two antagonistic sides, I greet you all. I'm called Moizi Joel, and I'm the first farmer from Team Ntare. In today's resolution that states, this house believes that antimicrobial resistance is a matter of biology and medicine rather than society and behavior. I'd like to make it clear and make sure I note down and clarify the key points or the key terms to describe in this resolution. Most importantly is the antimicrobial resistance. This is the ability of microbes, particularly bacteria specifically, to develop resistance to drugs designed to kill them. In our today's resolution, we're going to make it easy and term this antimicrobial resistance as AMR for that communication to be effective. So, we as team affirmatives, we look up to this point as there is no fire that ignites without a spark. So, in today's resolution, we're here to narrow it down to the most important issue, whereby you look up to the gene of bacteria that is going to be treated and the kind of antibiotics to be used to combat that particular bacteria, being the genesis of the whole issue of today's resolution. We come as presenting the parameters of today's resolution as modern medicines. The reason for this is because modern medicines, for they have a target that is specific. This is to make clear that with today's resolution, we're going to only look up to modern medicines. What are arguments in today's resolution? Our first argument is biological basis of the bacteria. It occurs when microbes adopt and evolve in response to the selective pressure of antibiotics. This is all because of the microbe genetic makeup. What are you looking up to? Look up to these bacteria that are going to be handled or to be treated. They have a certain genetic base whereby if they are not well treated, they develop a defensive mechanism whereby they cannot be treated furthermore just because the kind of treatment that was given to them rather was not effective. I'll take that later after specifying my kind of statistics. This is from the World Health Organization report that was presented on 31st July 2020 that states, when you use antibiotics, some bacteria can die, but resistant bacteria survive and even multiply. This is overdose of antibiotic. The overdose of antibiotics makes bacteria more common. What are we trying to show in this case? We're trying to show that there are certain bacteria specifically which cannot die, and a few that do die. There is also another chance that these ones that did not die, the antibiotics, if the same are they are placed onto to solve the problem of bacteria, then there is no solution. They still survive, mutate, and they develop a defensive mechanism whereby they are not to be taken up. My second argument in today's resolution is medical practices. The misuse or overuse of antibiotics in hospitals, which is primarily a medical issue, contributes significantly to the development of AMR. What are you trying to say in today's resolution? This argument clearly shows that there are these habits, there are these sessions whereby a person is given medicines and then takes this overdose. That is one point. Secondly, there is also misuse. This person comes upon this issue and then takes these antibiotics, and due to the high content that has been taken up, this person cannot be solved, or the problem that is concerning the diseases, especially bacteria, cannot be solved. When we talk about bacteria, we look up to diseases like TB. We also look up to diseases like cough, majorly like whooping cough, and we look up to antibiotics such as amoxicillin. This is one of the drugs that has been used to solve chest infections, pessimists for the throat, and septin. I remain Moizu Joe. I'd like to close my case. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Ariaka Walter from Kyambogo College School. This house believes that antimicrobial resistance is a matter of biology and medicine rather than society and behavior. I agree with the parameter, but of course, to modern medicine. However, I don't agree with the objectification and the narrowing of this subject only to bacteria, owing to the fact that this thing is supposed to be broad, affecting, bringing in and capturing viruses, fungi, and parasites. We cannot talk of bacteria alone. So for that case, our debate is going to major on all viruses and also parasites. In the very first place, I would like to also disagree that when we speak about genetic base, as Honorable Joel from the affirmative side did, we cannot tag this to biology alone. Genetics with medicine have a lot to do with society, as we're going to show you. And now, we're also going to look at medical practices. On their own point of view, they said people overdose, people misuse drugs. But the people who overdose are people who don't have information on how these drugs should be taken. That is a behavioral issue. When they speak of misuse of drugs, that is also a lack of information issue. If I don't have information on how a certain drug has to be taken in, then I'm going to misuse it. For example, I can use antiretrovirals to fatten my pigs, like we shall show later on. Now we're telling you as team negative that no, this thing is a societal and behavioral issue, because just like team affirmative introduced it to us, there's a lot of self-medication right now. And when there's self-medication, there is lack of self-expertise on how this thing goes. Team affirmative is going to explain to you the details of the outlines I'm giving below. We're also going to tell you that poor feeding habits can cause people to become resilient to certain treatments. We shall prove to you that there are fake drugs on the market, and these drugs cannot treat the diseases for which they are intended. We're also going to show you how misleading information is circulating both in this parameter of Uganda and out there. But most importantly, like Affirmative pointed it out, I'll take it later. Like Affirmative pointed it out, we're going to show how unqualified personnel are running pharmacies, drug shops, and medical stores out there. Now, let us look at this in the context of herbal medicine to start with. And besides, now let's start with drug abuse before we go to herbal medicine.
Honorable.
I'll take one, Ansha.
Are you trying to say that even with the right prescription, there is no resistance?
We shall get to that. They told us that they told us that the medicines which are going to cause the resistances do exist. They didn't tell us which medicine, and they did not tell us whether all the percentage, 100% are affected. Now we're going to inform you with statistics from National Drug Authority that 10% of the medicine in Ugandan market right now is fake. How do we expect people who are genuinely sick to adhere to genuinely fake medicine? You see, we are speaking of things like herbal medicine. People are self-medicating out there. How do we expect to bring them to hospitals and say this is a biological issue? So for us, we think we're coming in as National Drug Authority. Let's create awareness. Let's put in monitoring and evaluation. And we deal with pharmaceutical issues by, one, making sure that the village health teams do monitoring. They have established how many people attain and access health services. Because if there is no information, the information which is misleading out there is what people are going to go by, and it is not going to help save Ugandans. And then lastly, since my time is up, we are also going to prove to you that poverty is a cross-cutting thing. And because people are poor, people are resorting to methods which cannot be administered by professional medics. Thank you.
All right. Now, before I begin my speech, I need first get some clarification from the negative bench to tell us to what do microbes become resistant to. When you listen to their speech, they are trying to tell us that because people are being given wrong prescriptions, or because of their bad behaviors, it is because of that the microbes are affecting them. Oh, that's why you're having
we are having the AMR. But we want to make them clear that even when the prescriptions are made, that even when how this comes about is that about the medical practices, even with the right prescription, still primarily it all begins with the primarily it is a small pardon about the medical practices. We see that even when the prescriptions are wrong, even when the malpractices become about the behavior, it begins with even with the right prescriptions, still overuse of time. Now, let us come clearly to this about the biological use. We see that after the antimicrobes have been used, they go to the body, and the chances are that if they're used severely, the bacteria can be able to adapt to the antibiotics, they mutate, they become stronger and better, and they can no longer respond to the antibiotics. But they no longer look at that. When we look at the communities and the societies that people live in, the biological status comes directly there. The water they drink, the food they eat, it is all biology. Therefore, the mutations all begin from there. Even in the societies they are in, even in the communities that they are in, biological mutations begin from there. Therefore, clearly or unclearly, it all begins with the biology. Let us now go to the medicine. We see that after the root cause of these mutations, it is the antibiotics. After the people have used these antibiotics severely, they become used to the body. And now the antibiotics become stronger and better after mutation, and they can no longer respond to these antibiotics. Now, according to the World Health Journal, they tell us, according to scientific research and drug development, the scientists, clinicians, and pharmaceutical industries come on with various samples of antibiotics, but out of the 32 trials that have been made, only 6 of these antibiotics have been effective. Now, we ask the question, the team negative, where is the 26 going? It means that 26 of these antibiotics is being implemented into people's bodies, but then they are doing things that are not supposed to be done, even when they're on market. So the 26 are in people's bodies, carrying out mutations, making the antibiotics more, making the bacteria more stronger, even what is supposed to be done. They compromise our parameters and say that we should not limit bacteria. But when you look at how the AMR is called, it is that antimicrobial resistance, or MR, is the ability of microbes, particularly bacteria. So it means that antibiotics specifically, they are looking at bacteria, which the negative team fails to understand in the first position, that the debate has not been only narrowed to bacteria, but this is what the debate is seeking for, because AMR specifically responds to bacteria. Now, I want us to understand this together about what the debate is in need of. The debate is clearly seeking what is the basic cause of this. According to Team Negative, they think that because of people's behavior and society, it has led to this. But we tell them, even when you go to the ground level, even when you go to these communities, even when you go to these societies, there are biological changes that are happening there. When you go to the water sources, the feeding they're talking about, that is all biological. On the medicinal part of it, even when the prescriptions are wrong, even when the doctors give wrong prescriptions, it has all begun with the medicines. So that is the medical part of it. So someone taking a wrong medicine does not stop that medicine is not a medical way. It does not mean that medicine is not going to work in someone's body. Directly, it is going to work in someone's body. The first position working in someone's body, that is biological. Secondly, being coming from prescriptions or coming from a doctor, that is all the medicinal process or the medical process, which the negative team does not understand. So clearly or ideally, in conclusion, it all begins with the biological and the medicinal changes. It begins from the hospital and then it goes from someone's body. So it is biological and medicinal in a way that it's biological and medicinal, but not the society. So directly or indirectly, it all ends with the biological and medicinal changes. Allow me to submit.
Now, Arnold Mwebaze from Kyambogo College School, the negative part. Now, look at this. The debate is entirely on what we call it's entirely a debate where we have to compare. Now, team affirmatives have to come and show us what biology and medicine is going to be a factor that affects the ARM. That is what we are expected of them. We are expected of the house is expected of us to show them how society and behavior is to blame. Now, look at this. They come and say that even when there is right prescription is there, do you want to say that there is no ARM? Now, we say that we can't say that there's no ARM. It's there in place. But what causes ARM is what we are talking about, the lack of the lack of the fact that people fail to follow the prescribed medicine. Because now we come and give you one of the factors that is causing this. People lack to follow the prescribed medicine. That's why we are seeing their bodies resistant to a certain medicine, right? Now they come and say that everything, food, clean water is biology. Now we come and tell you this. Now, if at all it's biology, you accept it's biology. But who has, you can force a horse to a river, but you never automatically force it to drink. You will force me to eat balanced diet, but I will go for wheat, which is chapati. Now, is that food? Is that concern of food, or is that concern of biology? Or it now comes back to me, the person, the consumer is consuming that. That's typically what they fail to understand. They come and say overdosing now. Overdosing, which means if a particular person overdoses, it's by his own choice. It's not by the biology. It's not by the medicine. It's now by a person's own choice, right? Which means now it comes back to the societal and it comes back to the societal and behavior. Now we come and ask them this question. Now, if at all they come and say some drugs do not kill by antibiotics. Now, we want a clarification. If at all a drug is going to be verified, is going to be authorized to be in use, do they verify it just because they know that it won't even finish the bacteria in someone's body? Totally no. The National Drug Authority authorizes a drug that will automatically remove the bacteria in someone's body. So typically, their case of that, their reason of the bacteria not leaving someone's body, it's out. Now we come and show you that 75.7% of people, this was a research that was made in northern Uganda by it is found at the National Library of Medicine. They say 75% of people were interviewed in northern Uganda, and they found out that those 75%, they practice self-medication. Remember, self-medication, they don't know the prescription of a certain drug, right? So which means they will take the medicine without the right prescription. That's what we are seeing. That's why we are seeing the ARM are rising. Now, among those 75%, we see that 46.5% of them do self-prescription. Look at that. And now you again blame the biology. You again blame the medicine. Totally, you cannot blame medicine and biology. That's what they forget. We come and tell you poverty. People are poor. There's a certain drug I cannot afford because I'm poor. So which means my body will not have that drug. Whenever I take that, if at all, like for example, I've been rich. When I've been rich, I've been taking a certain antibiotic, as what they say. But now, poverty comes in, which means the only antibiotics that has been working on me was a rich antibiotic, right? But now I'm going on these weak antibiotics, which means those weak antibiotics won't work on me. It's not on biology. It's entirely on what we call the society. We come and tell you about drug abuse. People abuse drugs. Whenever you take a drug with the highest consumption of drug, you find that whenever you're going to take a drug to cure you, it no longer has an effect on you because you have overtaken it. That's drug abuse you're talking about. We again talk about people lack awareness. They lack awareness on certain drugs. The herbal medicine. An example of herbal medicine is this. Whenever I'm taking herbal medicine, I will take herbal medicine, right? I don't know what my body I don't know what my body will act on that herbal medicine, which means whenever I take a modern drug, as to what they say, the modern medicine, that modern medicine has a high possibility of not working on me because I have been taking what? The herbal medicine. I rest my case. Thank you.
Pano, this house believes that antimicrobial resistance is a matter of biology and medicine rather than society and behavior. So I'll take you through what we get from affirmative bench. They tell you that, firstly, the debate is not about bacteria only. Now that is not true because we think that antibiotics are there particularly to tackle bacteria for these particular microbes we are discussing. Secondly, they tell us that, this has a lot to do with society. These are the critics they give us. They tell us that there's no information out there. People are doing self-medication. There's a lot of poor feeding habits that given, some people are actually using these drugs to inject them in their poultry and pig feeds and all. But then again, the second speaker brings something like poverty and how, tries to connect how poverty, causes people to use the drugs that are not effective. Now, let me tell you the true stuff. Firstly, the assumptions they make are completely premised on the fact that there are no doctors out there, or perhaps doctors are not doing their work. That is one thing. But clearly, we are not going to fall for that until they characterize and give us true statistics to prove that. Secondly, they tell us that 10% of the medicine people are using is fake. Now, that is not true. Firstly, the debate is about antibiotics, the antimicrobial, the sort of antibiotics that are ingested in the body to deal with the bacteria only, not all the medicine that is out there. That is one. But secondly, they are telling us that, there's a lot of self-medication and people are failing to follow the prescribed results. Now, again, that's a faulty syllogism. Simply because they say it, we are not going to believe it. It is like saying, the President of the United States is a great speaker and I am a great speaker, so I'm the President of the United States. It just doesn't make sense. What that means is that, they are trying to connect how people can fail to listen to prescription to how actually people end up doing overdose. Now, firstly, they tell us that people do not follow the prescription. Now, we think there's not enough statistics on their side to prove that. But then secondly, Joel tries to characterize and show you how these microbes are sort of common in the sort of environment we live in. Notice that the debate doesn't occur in a vacuum. These are the sort of germs that you can meet everywhere, on roads, even when you're the most hygienic person. What that means is that these things like cough, these things like whooping cough and tuberculosis that he tries to show you are things that are very common, and there's a very big likelihood that you're going to meet these pathogens. A reason why the debate specifically talks about microbes. Again, these people tell us that it is because of the failure to follow prescription. Barry goes ahead and tells you that even if these people actually followed the prescription, there's a big possibility that this person is going to take these drugs over and over again. Now, that is not misuse. That is overuse. Practically, we think that the more you ingest them in your body, the more your body sort of gets adapted to these, and the microbes have to develop a life hack system, a mechanism for them to survive. Now, that is just a means of survival for these microbes. It is all scientific and biological. Now, again, they tell us that overdose is not a personal choice. They tell us that it is the society that one lives in that makes them to do this sort of overdose. Now, we want them to answer two questions. How exactly does the society make someone do overdose? Clearly, that is something we cannot stand for in the debate. But then secondly, they give us statistics that 75% of people do self-medication and the percentage of these actually do self-prescription, thereby trying to tell us that, when someone is poor, they'll so much resort to medicine that is not effective. Clearly, the same speaker goes ahead and says, when you become poor, you may resort to herbs. And we think that herbs have also been proven to actually work effectively. Even when Joel tells you that it is out of the debate, we restrict our parameters to the sort of modern medicines that have a direct, specific, and specific target, which can be related to this AMR, they still go ahead and don't follow that. Then again, they tell us that, people lack awareness. We think that the debate is generally not about solving AMR. The debate is about finding the root cause. To what can we blame the sort of AMR that we already witnessed? Now to the good stuff. We think that when Derek tells you about the scientific research and the drug developments that have been made, he clearly characterizes that without the biology and the medicine behind, this wouldn't start in the first place. But then secondly, there's no other way it can end without the biology and medicine. Thank you so much. I'm Torino Berak.
Second, get down. Hello? Yeah, it's fine. Good afternoon, the panel of judges, to antagonistic bodies and a house of large. My name is Tehri Mirza, representing the Kyambogo's debate team, Negator Speaker 3. First of all, I'd like to ask the question which one of the farmers asked. With the right prescription, is there a resistance? Yes. For example, if one has a right prescription of some disease, maybe I had flu and have a right prescription. But again, if next time I get flu, I don't know with flu or cough, is that malaria? But again, I go and use that right prescription to buy medicines, and then again, I end up misusing drugs. something that's socially related and behaviorally, but not biologically, because I chose to use the right prescription to buy a wrong medicine and misuse it. So that's why the first point of misusing the drugs is clear right now. And second question, they asked us, how are microbes come to resistance? This is a question I'd like to ask by. They came and told us that AMRs are only bacteria, but here's a research by the WHO website which says the AMR are not only the bacteria, but fungi, virus, parasites that change long over no time to respond to medicines making effects, which makes their sources are basically wrong in this debate. First of all, judges, this is one thing you have to notice, because basically viruses and parasites are also the part of AMR. Now let's straight go to our clash points. As the team negators, just a minute, please.
POI, please.
Rejected. I'm not taking any. Since it's the pharma team come and tell that it all started with medicine, and medicine is biologically. But I, as a team negative, come and tell you, you choose to eat a wrong medicine and misuse it. Is it a biological act, or is it something you did because of your behavior and the society? That's the first point that farmers fail to understand. Second, they come and tell us the overdose of drugs. Overdose of drugs is also a choice you make by your own. It's not a biological thing, which means the fact of it being biologically is completely out of the game right now. Second, they come and tell us poor medical practices. Yes, there is poor medical practices, but before that, there is poverty. If someone is poor, why would he go and buy medicine? But instead, they will go and use herbs, or they will use a prescription that's of an old medicine, which means this is all a society kind of behavior problem. There is no biological picture of it. They even come and tell us that since food is medicine, food is biology, because that's one of the ways AMR spread. So I would also like to tell them that people, for example, let me give you a statistic. 73% of animals are over-drugged in Uganda, which means this meat that you eat has been over-drugged by someone, which was because of its behavior. It was not because of something biological, which means the food which has caused AMR was also a result of someone being morally wrong in his behaviors, which means the point of their food being the reason of this biological AMRs is also wrong, which means the negators, the farmers, have failed to tell us how this debate is basically on a biological factor. First of all, our team as negators will have to tell them that everything you do in this society, for example, I rejected, please. The farmers came and told us a gene of bacteria. The gene of bacteria evolves in water, and that water is what you used to drink, and that's what makes you get AMR. But before the biological factor of it being water, aren't you supposed to boil? I said rejected. Aren't you supposed to boil that water? Which means if you fail to boil that water and drink it and get AMR, that means you are faulty. It's your behavioral problem. Why do you come and behave the biology? Why do you come and blame the biology in this? The Afama one also came and told us the biological evolution. The biological evolution is also the same way I told you. We can prevent them socially. They are not caused biologically, but caused by our bad behaviors. Which is because of society and behaviors, which again comes to our side of debate. They also came and told us that, yeah, I've done about that. Just a minute. They came to us that overdose is, like Afama one said, he gave us basically 2 points: overdose of medicine and misuse of medicine and medical practices. One, medical practices is something when you fail to go and get a right doctor or get a right medicine because of your poverty, which again brings it to behavior, which means that the farmers have failed to understand this debate. It all depends on your behaviors and your society. Actually, they come and give us points. None of their points had biological explanations. They came and told us genes of bacteria evolve. Did they tell us how do they biologically evolve? We even asked them what medicines are related. What medicines are related to this overdose? None of them came and told us. So in this conclusion of the debate, this is a comparative debate, which means the farmers failed to tell us how is this debate related biologically to the bacteria present today, which means they do not win a chance to win this debate. As the farmers have presented more proof and burden, and hence we win the day. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the excitement from the audience is largely not welcomed. We can barely hear the speakers above your hula ball.
Mic check.
Extend this side.
Resolved. Are you aware that society influences biology?
Are you also aware that it is the body
Yes
that is
or
getting
no?
sick or the society?
Is failing to buy a prescribed drug biological? Yes or no?
Pardon?
Is failing to buy a prescribed drug biological? Yes or no?
The impact of the drug is biological.
How is bad behavioral attitude a medicinal factor?
Slow down, please.
How is bad behavioral attitude a medicinal factor?
Bad behavior attitude,
Medicinal factor.
it is
Okay.
not.
Are drugs verified to work or to fail?
They are supposed to work, but
Thank
the
you. How
repercussions
does
they bring
gene
with it.
evolution characterize overuse?
Gene evolution comes in with reaction to the drugs, sir.
Do you need society to characterize statistics you've provided with biology? Yes
No.
or no? You don't. When you buy the right antimicrobial and misuse it, does it become behavioral or biological?
It is entirely biological.
Thank you. Does the biological factor occur without individual participation?
The two coexist.
Thank you. Is drug abuse a behavioral issue?
Do you choose to
Is
abuse
drug
drugs?
abuse a behavioral issue?
Can you
Yes or
choose to
no?
to misbehave on drugs?
May take your seat.
Thank you.
Dear panel, Team Negative fails to understand that drug abuse is one, a behavioral issue. Second of all, Team Affirmative, fails to understand that individual participation, like it fails to understand that biological factor can only occur when there is individual participation. Dear panel, when you talk about individuals, we are going to talk about society. And when you talk about individuals, we are going to talk about the behavior. So dear panel, if at all the behavior of people is going to influence a society and it is going to influence their biological factors, dear panel, then it brings back to the resolution saying that we are saying that the society and the behavior of people in the given society are the ones that actually influence all the factors, or it's the matter of the antimicrobial resistance that we are talking about today. Dear panel, they say that the drugs are verified to work. Yet, dear panel, they came and say that you can be given a drug and then at the end of the day, it does not work. Dear panel, so we fail to understand. It means that the fourth speaker actually accepts that their pre-current speeches were wrong simply because they say that the drugs they bring are verified to work. Therefore, it means that if you're given if a drug is being prescribed to work for a certain purpose, then in the end of the day, it's going to do that prescribed purpose. But why are we having antimicrobial resistance? That is why we are saying that it is because of the society and the behavior of people, not to deal with a biological factor or not to deal with anything, to deal with medicine. Dear panel, we come and tell them that how is bad behavior attitude a medicinal factor? Dear panel, they come and then they ask me, do I choose to be bad or good? But dear panel, they are the very same people that come and accept that in the world we are living in today, people are the ones misusing drugs. They are the people that come and say that there is overdose right now. Dear panel, they fail to come and tell us the reason for gene evolution in this case. Dear panel, we want to know what causes these genes to evolve. If at all they could tell us that these genes develop by a biological factor, if at all they could come and tell us these genes are going to evolve when there is no overuse, if at all they're going to tell us these genes are going to evolve when there is no misuse, then dear panel, we could accept that it is entirely biological. But dear panel, if in their current speeches they come and tell us that there is overuse, that there is misuse, then dear panel, it entirely drives us from the reason as to why we are saying that it is a matter to do with society and behavior. Dear panel, one of the clash points they come and say that to deal with misuse, but dear panel, they did not clarify how misuse is a matter to deal with biology. They don't come and tell us how misuse is a matter to deal with medicine. Therefore, dear panel, we come and say that if you're going to misuse a drug, then it is going to come and be an issue to deal with your behavior or attitude towards that drug. That is why Team Negative will stand to win this debate, simply because you have satisfied the need of the resolution. I rest my case.
Oh, Your Honorable. Oh, Your Honorable. Okay. Does society and behavior cause the resistance gene?
Because they influence how someone is going to take
That's
that drug.
enough. That's enough. Even with the right prescription, does resistance occur? Yes or no?
If at all someone does not follow the prescription,
Okay, that is fair enough. What do microbes get resistant to?
they get resistant to the bodies of people who do not actually follow
Exactly, that
and
is
take the right
important. No,
and
that
take
is
the right
enough.
drugs they're supposed to take.
Do microbes, particularly bacteria, have life adaptive mechanisms?
Yes, if at all you do
Exactly,
not follow
thank you,
the
that's
right
enough.
measures, then they will adapt to.
Can you personally choose to take an overdose?
If at all it's my behavior, and if at all it is me as a person, I could
Okay,
take
that's
overdose.
enough.
If at all the doctor
The
gives
last
me
question,
medicine and I
please.
say
The last
that's
question, please. In the genetic makeup of bacteria, is there a resistance gene?
I beg your pardon.
In the genetic makeup of bacteria, is
Team
there a
affirmative
resistance
did not clarify
gene?
us. Did not clarify that.
You may
meaning
have
it's
your
not
seat,
there.
sir. I've had enough. Okay. The panel, the two antagonistic chambers, plus the audience at large. A good afternoon to you all. My name is Ntare Albert from Team Ntare School, and I come in as the fourth negator. Now, from the very minute go, when we started this resolution, we have clearly understood that the affirmer, the negators, do not know what they are talking about. One, they are looking for the they are looking for the effect, yet here in this resolution, we are looking for the root cause. What causes the other? But they are looking for the effect. They fail also understanding they have the highest level of confusion with the second negator even compromising the parameters. Yes, yet the first negator accepted the parameters. Now, one thing that comes from the affirmative, the things that come from the negative table are overdose, misuse, lack of information on drugs, self-medication, and